Hi students, welcome to PhD Jobs and Admission. This is Gauri. So in today's session we are going to see Pondicherry University's PhD Entrance Test Research Methodology Subject Preparation Tips and Tricks. So in today's session we are going to see Research Methodology PYQS of the year 2020 of PhD Entrance Test at Pondicherry University. So after viewing this session, some of the concepts of research methodology will get clear by solving these PYQs relevant concepts. So students, as well, you will get an idea exactly what type of MCQs they will ask you under research methodology subject at Pondicherry University. So you need to watch this video until the end so that all of your doubts will get clear. As well, you can practice most of the PYQs. By practicing most of the PYQs, it will be really helpful to all the students because PYQs are getting repetitively asked in each year in PhD entrance test. Okay, so now let us begin. So students, as you know that there is PhD entrance test at Pondicherry University, under which they will ask you 50% MCQs on research methodology and 50% MCQs on concerned subject. So if you want to qualify this PhD entrance test, then all the students have to score 50% marks. So to score these 50% marks, we provide research methodology complete course. By the use of this complete course, all the students can guaranteed score 50% marks in research methodology, and they can and MCQ lectures are available. We provide you full syllabus, notes and mock tests. So we have 10 mock tests like this. Each mock test contains 40 MCQs. That's why overall you can solve 400 MCQs by solving the mock test. Guaranteed solve most of the revision topics in a single PDF, and they can revise all the topics in a single PDF. They will get 80% MCQs from this PDF only out of 100% MCQs in the research methodology section of the PhD entrance test. And all of these study material will be available in both the languages, that is Hindi and English. So students, if you want to buy this complete course, then you can either download the Global Online app from the Play Store. For that I have given the link in the description box of this video, or else you can contact me through these WhatsApp numbers. The course fees are only $699, and in this low fees we provide guaranteed selection to all the students. Okay, so students, basically whenever you buy this complete course, then from your preparation until your guaranteed selection to the PhD program, we provide the guidance to all the students. Okay, so this is really helpful to all the students. Now let us begin. A student has scored 80 marks in a test of psychology and 60 marks in statistics. These scores can be compared by converting them into. So students, basically a student has scored 80 marks in a test of psychology subject and 60 marks in a test of statistics subject, and you need to compare the marks in these two subjects. Then what you can do to compare these marks in two subjects, whether you convert them into percentages, categories, standard scores, rank differences. So students, if you see all of these options, then it is really very useful to convert these marks into percentages to compare them, and that's why your correct answer should be 1. If you know the maximum marks in each subject, for example, the maximum marks in psychology and statistics subject is 100, then 80 marks, okay, will be converted into percentage and it would be 80%, and 60 marks will be converted into percentages and they will be 60%. Okay, so you can compare these percentages, okay, if you know the maximum marks in the subjects. So if you see other options like categories, standard scores, rank differences, so students, you can't convert the marks into categories because marks are itself what? Quantitative entity, and categories are nothing but the qualitative entity. So you can't do this. Then if you see standard scores, then standard score is nothing but a measure of how many standard deviation a score is above or below the mean. And rank differences are nothing but, these are the differences that we can use to compare relative position of scores within group. But here they have exactly given you the values of the marks in different subjects. Okay, and that's why to measure the standard scores, to measure the rank differences is somehow difficult in this case. So these options are going to get what? Eliminated. So that's why your correct answer should be 1, that is percentages. A correlation between x and y is significant. It means that there is a correlation between x and y variables and this correlation is significant. What is the meaning of this? X causes variation in y, x and y vary together. Y causes variation in x and y vary independently. Okay. So students, if there is a correlation between x and y which is significant, then it means that both the variables basically vary together. Okay, that's why here your correct answer should be what? 2. X and y vary together. So here understand one thing, that there is a correlation between x and y means that these two variables vary together, but it does not mean that x causes variation in y and y causes variation in x. There is no any kind of cause and effect relationship between these variables. There is only relationship between these variables and they basically vary together. Okay, and there is possibility that there is a third variable, let us assume that z, and it causes the variation in x and y, and that's why they are varying together. But it does not mean that x causes variation in y and vice versa. Okay, so understand this, and that's why here your correct answer should be 2. So students, we provide Pondicherry University PhD Entrance Test paper to study material as well, so that by using this study material, students can score more marks in paper 2 and they qualify the PhD entrance test. So in this study material, we provide full syllabus notes and MCQs. So in the MCQ section, we provide most expected MCQs and PYQs. By the use of these most expected MCQs and PYQs, all the students can guaranteed score more marks in paper 2. Paper 2 study material fees are 999, and in this low fees, we provide guaranteed selection to all the students. So students, the subjects that I have mentioned on this screen, on all of these subjects, we provide currently paper 2 study material. If you want paper 2 study material for any other subject, then candidates can contact me through these WhatsApp numbers or they can comment me. So students, to join our courses, you can contact me through these WhatsApp numbers. This paper 2 study material will be helpful to the students so that they can qualify the entrance test, as well they can qualify the interview session, because in the interview session, examiners will ask you most of the questions on concerned research subject. Okay, and the syllabi of it we have concluded or included in this notes and MCQs. Okay. The term positivism is coined by. Now, who was the scientist or sociologist who has discovered the term positivism? Karl Marx, Basil Bernstein, Emile Durkheim, Auguste Comte. Okay, so students, positivism is the research approach or research perspective, or you can think about like it is a philosophical assumption. So in this we assume that the objects that we see and whatever we observe basically are nothing but what? Measurable things, and the things that are observable and that's why measurable are basically what? True in this world. So this is the assumption that we think or assume in the positivism perspective. Okay, and this term was coined by Auguste Comte. Okay, so Auguste Comte was the founder of discipline of sociology and discipline of positive philosophy, and he described epistemological perspective of positivism in his series of texts, Course in Positive Philosophy. So Course in Positive Philosophy was the book which was published between 1830 to 1842, and in this book he has described the term positivism. Okay, so this is your correct answer. Which among the following is not source of data for sociological research? Now students, here they have given you different options, and from these options there is one option which is not a source of data for sociological research. So now let us see the options: government statistics, historical documents, interviewing, experiments. So students, sociological research is nothing but a qualitative research method under which we study the society or the problems in society. Okay, that's why this comes under what? Qualitative research. So if you see all of these options, then government statistics. Now government statistics is the source which provide wealth of information on various aspects of society, such as it gives you information about population demographics, right? Population demographics. Then it gives you information about economic indicators and crime rates as well. Historical documents are the sources which provide valuable insights into social and cultural practices of past societies. Okay, past societies. Then interviewing. So interviewing is the method of data collection, okay, through direct conversation with individuals, and it allows researchers to gather detailed information about people's experiences, opinions and attitudes. And experiments is the data collection method under which we control the variables, we manipulate the variables and check the cause and effect relationship between the variables. So basically experiments is the method of data collection which is preferably used in quantitative research methods, not in qualitative research methods. That's why here your correct answer should be what? 4, because experiments is not source of data for sociological research. But if you see all of these other options, these are the source of data for sociological research. Identify the test which is applied for the situation where an aspiring MBA student wants to compare the salaries offered to the graduates of 2 business schools. Now here they have asked you the question regarding the situation in which of these t-test you can do. Okay, so what is the situation? Okay, there is an aspiring MBA students and they want to compare the salaries which are offered to the graduates of 2 business schools. So now for this study, which test these aspiring MBA students will do? One sample t-test, independent samples t-test, dependent samples t-test, t-test. Okay. So students, now in this case, if you see all of these options, then you will understand that independent samples t-test is the best option, because independent samples t-test basically compare means of 2 independent groups. Okay, means of 2 independent groups. So if you see here, graduates of 2 business schools are nothing but what? 2 independent groups. I mean to say 2 business schools are the 2 independent groups. They are not depend on each other, and if you want to compare the means of these 2 business schools, then obviously you can do independent samples t-test. Okay, so in this situation 2 groups are graduates of 2 business schools, and variable is what? Salary offered to graduates. So this salary offered to the graduates is nothing but the variable, and you are going to compare the means of variables, okay, of these 2 independent groups. Okay, are you getting? And that's why students, this test allow this aspiring MBA student to determine if there is statistically significant difference between average salaries offered to graduates of these 2 business schools. Okay, that's why in this case you can do, or these MBA aspiring students can do independent samples t-test. And if you see all other options like one sample t-test, so one sample t-test can be done if you want to compare sample mean to known population mean. Okay, if you want to compare sample mean to known population mean, then in this situation you can do one sample t-test. If there is dependent samples t-test, then in this situation you can compare means of two related groups such as before and after measurements or matched pairs, but these are not related groups, these are basically what, independent groups. That's why in this case you can't do dependent samples t-test, you can't do one sample t-test, but you can do independent samples t-test. And if you see t-test, so t-test refers to all of these t-test. Basically t-test is a large concept, and in this concept there are subtypes of this t-test, like one sample t-test, independent samples t-test, dependent samples t-test. So this is also eliminated. So your correct answer should be what? 2. Reorganize the following steps of descriptive research in a correct sequence. Okay, collection and processing of data, interpretation of results, identification of a problem, drawing conclusions, drafting of the report, formulation of hypothesis. Okay, so students, if there is a descriptive research, then in this descriptive research basically we describe the characteristics of a certain event which is exactly occurred just after the event. Okay, so basically just after the event, the characteristics of that event we describe in the descriptive research, and based upon these characteristics we make the hypothesis and we test the hypothesis by using different statistical techniques, and at the end we get the results. So if whenever you do any kind of a descriptive research or any kind of a research basically, so every research has a common steps. Now let us see here different steps. So I have already told you, right? But in the descriptive research or any kind of a research, your first step should be what? Your first step should be identification of a problem. So this should be your first step. Then formulation of hypothesis will be your second step. Then collection and processing of data will be your third step. Then interpretation of results will be your fourth step. Then drawing of conclusion will be your fifth step. Then drafting of report will be your sixth step. Okay, so if you see all these options, FCA BDE, FCA EBD, CFA EBD, CFA BDE. So if you see all of these options, then you will understand that your correct answer should be what? 4, because CFBDE is the right sequence of steps of descriptive research in a correct sequence. Okay, the major objective of a qualitative research study is to, now what is the major objective of qualitative research? Understands a process or concept, then study group differences, predicts relationships, explain variation in measurements. So now students, qualitative research is the research under which basically we formulate the theory, and whatever data that we collect is non-numerical data, which is a qualitative data basically, and qualitative data is the data which is relevant to the human experiences, what they feels. Basically it is the data which is relevant to the quality of a human being or quality of an object, and that's why the main objective of a qualitative research is to understand the process or concept under study. So whenever we understand these processes or concepts, then we can understand the reason behind a particular phenomena. That's why the major objective of a qualitative research study is to understand a process or concept. Okay, whenever you want to study group differences, then predicts relationships, explain variation in measurements, then in these situations you can adapt quantitative research because it is relevant to the quantity, okay, or the numerical objective quantity. And that's why in these situations, whenever you want to do compare the group differences, whenever you want to predict the cause and effect relationships or explain the variation in measurements of the variables, then for that you can do quantitative research. But for understanding a process or concept or any kind of a text or phenomena, for this you can adapt qualitative research study. Okay, a distribution of scores was negatively skewed. It can be stated that, okay, whenever there is a distribution of score and it was negatively skewed, then how you can state this negative skewness of this distribution of scores? Mean and median coincide, mean is more than the median, mean is less than the median, no such relationship exists. So students, skewness means what? There is asymmetry. Asymmetry means there is no symmetrical distribution of the scores, and negatively skewness means what? The tail of the curve is basically bending towards the left part. Okay, for example, this is your graph and this is your curve. Okay, so now this curve is bending towards the left part of this curve. Okay, so this is called as what? Negatively skewed. So basically this will be like this. Okay, your score will be like this. Are you getting? So students, this is called as what? Negatively skewed. Okay, and that's why in this situation your mean is less than the median, because your tail is going to be bending towards the left. Left means this one, your side of left. Okay, this will be your positive skewness. Fine. So if you see here, if this curve is bending towards the left, then it means that the mean value is less than the median, because mean is the central tendency which is affected by the outlier values. Outlier values, I mean to say the extreme values of the data. Whenever the extreme values of the data is going to be changed, then mean value is obviously going to be changed. And if there is negative skewed distribution, then it means that your tail is bending towards the left part. That's why your mean value is becomes very much lesser than median, because median is not affected by the extreme values. So your median will be over here and your mean will be over here. That's why your mean is less than median in the negatively skewed distribution. Okay, that's why here your correct answer should be 3. And if there is a positive skewed distribution, then in that situation your graph will be like this. Okay, then it means that your mean will be more than the median, because your median will be here, your mean will be here. So it means that your mean value will be more than median. So don't confuse in this. Your correct answer should be what? 3. Contemporary and historical records are often analyzed systematically through a procedure known as, whenever you want to analyze systematically the contemporary and historical records, then to analyze these things, which procedure you can do? Content analysis, quantitative index, sociologist, inquiry, coding. Now students, let us see one by one all of these options. What is content analysis? Now content analysis is a research method, and we can use this research method to identify, analyze and interpret patterns and themes. Okay, patterns and themes in textual data. It involves systematic coding and categorization of text data to identify the patterns, themes and relationships within it. Okay, so these patterns and themes and relationships you can find in contemporary and historical records, because these are nothing but the data which is in text format. So to analyze systematically the data of these text format, you can do what? Content analysis. That's why here your correct answer should be what? 1, that is content analysis. And if you see all other options, then what is quantitative index? What is this? So students, this quantitative index is nothing but a numerical measure that we use to represent particular characteristic. Okay, and what is sociologist inquiry? Now this sociologist inquiry is a process of conducting research in field of sociology. Okay, and what is coding? Now coding is the content analysis process that involves assigning codes or labels to segments of text to facilitate analysis. So basically coding is the process which comes under content analysis. Whenever you need to code or some kind of a text, then for that coding procedure can be used in content analysis. Okay, that's why here your correct answer should be what? 1. What is a research design? Now what is research design? A way of conducting research that is not grounded in theory, the choice between using qualitative and quantitative methods, the style in which you present your research findings, example a graph, a framework for every stage of the collection and analysis of data. Okay, So students, what is research design? Research design is nothing but a outline, okay, that you make whenever you start to do your research process. So within a research design, you basically make an outline about your whole research process, exactly what you are going to do in your whole research process, what exactly the data collection methods and data analysis methods you are going to do in your research process. That's why research design is nothing but a framework for every stage of the collection and analysis of data. Okay, this is your correct answer. Okay, at every stage of collection and analysis of data, whatever the methods you are going to use, the framework of those methods or the outline of those methods are described in the research design. Okay. So students, thank you for watching this session. I hope all of you understood whatever the concepts that I have discussed with you in this session. Okay, so if you have any doubts, you can ask me in the comment box.